Heat radiation is all around us. This heat can be used as a kind of invisible light, infrared light. With special equipment, it can be seen, photographed, and measured. I'm Mike Nelson. My companions and I were testing new detecting equipment and could make it possible to apply these principles underwater. That's why I was here, in the Indian Ocean, hunting this kind of invisible light. I was working with one of the most brilliant scientists in the field. He was a young, Oxford-educated East Indian. His name was Dr. Jamal Singh. With us was Swedish-born Risa Helvig. Risa was decorative, but that wasn't all. She was also an apprenticed scientist and secretary of the International Oceanographers Institute. The Institute was sponsoring the doctor's work. We were only one of 6 units doing experimental work on new kinds of underwater equipment. The others, like us, were working from scientific vessels strung out along the coastline at various points. We would meet later at a designated spot to compare notes. We had found a lot of valuable answers for our research. Then we found something that we weren't looking for. Dr. Singh dropped his detector. We were startled by what happened. The device was already being sucked down into the bottom. We needed that detector, but I knew that it would be dangerous to try and get it out. I motioned to Singh to hold onto my foot, while I moved in cautiously. It was a job pulling the detector out. The bottom was exerting a strong suction on it. What we had discovered was a surprise to us, but not new to science. It was soft ocean bottom, loose sediment, filled into depressions in the ocean floor. I looked back and saw that the depression had already filled in. I felt a distinct chill. It wasn't from the water.
You drink or something?
Rather a nasty experience down there.
Nasty? That's the understatement of the year, Dr. Singh. It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Me too. I must say, Doctor, I didn't expect to find a condition like that down there.
We haven't run across it very often in these waters.
Oh, if I never run across it again, it'll be all right with me.
Yeah, but you want to watch out for it, though. Especially when there's not much water movement down below, on the bottom.
Is that what makes the bottom so soft?
Yeah.
Yes. You see, there are layers and layers of soft sediments, sand, silt, or clay, filled into pockets in the ocean floors. The condition can become most dangerous.
Just look at that goo, huh? If we're to continue our work here, it's going to be like hanging onto a tiger by a tail.
Maybe we should discontinue our work here. I mean, move on to another area.
I'm afraid that's something you'll have to decide, Mike. Personally, I'd prefer to continue working here. We've invested a lot of valuable time in studying the prevailing conditions here and adjusting the equipment to them.
Yeah, I know we have. And if we move on, we're going to have to start all over again.
Right.
We'll keep on here. But on one condition. Racer, you're going to have to remain aboard from now on.
Of course, I'll do whatever you wish in this matter, Mike. But...
Oh, the doctor will be all right. He's a good diver. He's careful. Not that you're not, but...
But I'm a woman.
That's for sure. It's just that I'm afraid, Risha, that you might get bogged down and you wouldn't have the strength to free yourself.
Well, in that case, I'll just have to work out with barbells every day from now on and work up muscles like Atlas. You'll see.
Well, before you do that, you'd better get to work right here. We've got to start setting up the equipment if we're going to run medium-range tests on infrared detection today.
Yeah, daylight's going. We've got to take advantage of all the time we possibly can. Teresa, you want to get Oh, you can work on that, all right, fine.
With the equipment above water set up on the deck of the boat, I made sure that everything was in order below water. I'd already attached a sensitive infrared pickup to the hull. The cable would connect this detector with the analyzing and computing equipment on board. I signaled Teresa to check the equipment. On deck, Risa could operate the pickup on a directional rotor that accurately indicated compass bearings. After all the equipment above board and below had been checked out, I would swim out with cables from the boat to meet the doctor and couple it with cables from the station at a halfway point between the station and the boat. Dr. Singh had set off on the water with cables, couplings, and equipment to set up the underwater station for our medium-range tests. The station would produce infrared radiation by which we could test our detectors. Dr. Singh was carrying a heavy load of steel-clad cable. He checked his compass to keep moving in the right direction. He forgot that the mass of cable could throw a compass off completely. He was already moving steadily in the wrong direction.
Take a look at that.
Oh, Mike, it works.
Yeah, it sure does. Of course, this is very close range. The real test is how accurately we can continue to detect the radiations. And from how far.
But it's a beginning. Now I know how Newton felt.
Yeah, but he only had an apple to keep his eyes on. You got all this equipment to watch out for. We expect you to take care of the situation, too.
Oh, don't worry about me. I've got an easy job. It's you and Dr. Singh I'm concerned about.
Hold that for me for a second, will you? Okay, thanks.
I swam down with the cables. We had agreed to meet at a certain time, and to make it, I'd have to work fast. I arrived at the place where I was supposed to meet Dr. Singh. The doctor wasn't there. It could have taken longer than planned to set up the underwater station. Still, I was worried. If I could have seen Singh at that moment, I would have been even more worried, because he was lost. His deviated compass was rapidly leading him farther and farther from our zone of operations. I checked the time and my bearings. I started looking for him, but I didn't know exactly where he was going to set up the underwater station. Dr. Singh had been careful, but not careful enough. In his haste and confusion, he had already stumbled into a treacherous bog of soft sediment. The heavy cables were wrapped around him, and he couldn't get rid of them. The suction was beginning to pull him slowly but surely downward. I couldn't find any sign of the station or the doctor. I knew that somehow, some way, he had gotten lost. When I started to search for Dr. Singh, I let go of the cables. I knew that when Risa saw the slack, she would be worried. But I couldn't stop to think too long about Risa then. I had to find the doctor. Ordinarily, if he got lost, he could just surface. But this area was filled with soft floor. The slightest touch broke the crust, and with the weight Singh was carrying, he could really get in trouble. He managed to reach one of his flares and get it out of the muck. He ignited it, but it was a dud. Despite anything that he could do, he was sinking deeper and deeper each minute. He knew that he'd soon be finished. Looking for anything lost underwater in the ocean is never easy, especially in an area where the sediment on the bottom is dangerously soft. I had wasted enough time looking for Dr. Singh. I decided to get back to the boat. By the time I got back to the boat, Risa Helvig had already put in a call for help to the other research vessels in the area and for planes to scan the surface. But Risa wasn't fooling herself.
Did you see any trace of him?
Nope. I was in hopes he was here.
I did everything you told me. I notified the rest of the expedition. But by the time they get here, it'll be too late, won't it?
Unless he's on the surface. And if he's not... Where are the binoculars?
Up there.
see any bubbles. It's too big an area to set up a search pattern underwater, that's for sure. We never get to them in time.
What are we going to do, Mike?
He's going to be out of air, I'm sure of that. We got all that equipment. Let's use it.
Mike, look.
Only a few minutes later, we got a picture on the scope that looked like a man swimming.
Figure out the bearing and give it to me. Right out there.
Good luck.
I didn't find the doctor. What I did find didn't help matters any. The detector had picked up a shark, a white tip, one of the kinds called man-eaters. If something had happened to the doctor, if he had hurt himself, it could attract every shark in the neighborhood for miles around. We got another signal. This would be it. But it wasn't. What the detector had picked up was a strong updraft of a warm current, stirring up a cloud of silt from the bottom. And I was wasting precious time. The very weak signal we got turned out to be coming from a large boiler, part of the wreckage of a ship. The corrosion process must have been radiating a very small amount of heat. I was glad our equipment was so sensitive, but it still wasn't finding Dr. Singh. I knew that he had taken along a couple of flares for the tests. As I headed back to the boat, I kept hoping that Singh had used one of them and that Risa had picked it up on the detector. I had to find Dr. Singh within the next 10 minutes. After that, when and if I found him, about the only thing that I'd be able to do for him would be to bury him. As close as I could figure, he had less than 10 minutes of air left in his tanks.
Hurry up. Come here. I've got something. What does that look like to you?
Heat radiation from a flare.
That's what I thought.
Quickest way to get there is by boat.
I knew the race was close, but just how close, I wouldn't know until later. A minute later, I was in the exact spot indicated by the bearings in the finder. I had an extra air tank and regulator with me. The infrared detector had worked. There was Dr. Singh, waving a flare. I wasn't any too soon. The flare burned out as I approached. I gave him air from the extra tank. I still had to get him out, and without getting caught myself, I signaled him to be patient. The board didn't help. I realized that manpower wouldn't do the job, but we couldn't wait for heavy equipment. The boat might do it. The cable, which was weighing him down now, could be of use. If I could attach it to the stern, I figured that I could get him out. The cable was in place. At a signal from me, Risa put the boat in motion. In a few minutes, Dr. Singh was safely on board.
Hey, let me take your weight down off. Track off, boy. Get him on that chair. Ah, you're gonna be all right, Doc. Yeah. How you feeling now, huh?
I feel wonderful.
Wonderful.
What do you mean?
Yes, wonderful. The equipment works.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Bridges, inviting you to join us for another action-packed story of underwater adventure 1 week from today.